The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the Center for Teaching and Learning and our webinar series. Today, we are going to talk about time management. And I don't know about you, but I know that I can definitely learn some additional time management skills and learn how to schedule my day better because I think Dr. Rawlings said it best the other day, that's about the only thing you can't beg, borrow, or steal is time. We all have the exact same amount of time in the day. So I want to thank our guest presenter, Dr. Rawlings, for putting together this presentation and talking to us a little bit about time management and ways to improve efficiency. A couple of household questions that we typically get asked before we get started is, will this webinar be recorded? And the answer is yes. This webinar is currently being recorded and it will be available in the Center for Teaching and Learning, typically by the end of the day today. So if at any time there's something or a resource that Dr. Rawlings talks about that you want to refer back to, don't feel like you need to take hard notes throughout this presentation. You're going to have access to both the PowerPoint and the presentation by the end of the day today. So really, this is a great opportunity for you to listen and review and really kind of do a self-study on your time management skills. So the second question that I get asked quite often is, what happens if I have a question or clarification, or if there's something that I would like to add to the topic itself? And so you'll notice in your GoToWebinar box that's up on your screen, you should have the option for questions. And if you want to type that information in the questions box, I'd be more than happy to read those to Dr. Rawlings during the presentation. Also, we have the ability that if you would like to speak and you have a microphone, we can definitely turn on your microphone so that we can have that conversation if that's something that's important to you or you have that capability. Those are typically the two questions that I get asked, so I like to start off the webinar with that. So I am going to turn it over to Dr. Rawlings. So Dr. Rawlings, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I've loved getting to know you over the last couple of weeks as we've gotten this scheduled. So I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Ashley. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I want this to be more of a discussion, so please do feel free to ask questions as we go. And I am going to, in a minute, share my screen, and I'll have my PowerPoint up, and then we'll just go through the PowerPoint. So a little bit about me, and I'm having trouble sharing my screen, so there we go. So let's start here from the beginning. Well, why is it not starting? There we go. Well, went too far. So just a little bit about my background. I've been teaching online and face-to-face for over 20 years, and I have learned to manage my time fairly well, but of course there's always room for improvement. And some days I get up and I think, oh, I've got this today, and you know, I have my day all scheduled and all planned, and then all I have is all I have to have is a big interruption, and it throws my whole day off. And then it feels like at the end of the day I didn't get nearly accomplished as for what I needed to or wanted to get accomplished. So, but teaching online and both face-to-face have given me ample opportunities to really kind of refine some time management skills, but I'm always open to learning new ones. So that's why I want this to be more of a discussion and have you share your best strategies and tips for time management, because it's something that, you know, affects us all. So I live in Kentucky with my husband and daughter, and so like you, I do try to find a work-life balance. And of course, time management is a huge part of that. So here's our program for today. So we're going to begin with defining time management. Most of us probably would have similar definitions, but just to kind of talk about in the research out there how it's defined, we'll look at that. Also, the importance of time management. I'm sure we can all give reasons why it's important, and many of those we would share. And then we're going to take a self-assessment. So if you would, hopefully you have a pen and paper close by, or you can grab them, because it's about 15 questions, and they're just yes/no questions. And then we'll have a score, and we'll kind of I'll show you how to interpret that score. We're going to look at time wasters, which again, those interruptions that we all get, our distractions that kind of pull us off of our schedules that we kind of have in our minds, or that we have planned out. So we're going to talk about time wasters, and then time management strategies. So what can we do? I want us to think about things that we can do to help better use our time and manage our time, and then taking control. Sometimes it's just, we have to just take control. And this has to be intentional. So we have to decide, yeah, I mean, this is an area that I've got to get control, and then we want to set about techniques to help us just actually take control. And then we'll have some closing thoughts. So we look at how time management's defined. I thought that Adebayo did a really good job of coming up with this definition, and I think most of us can relate to this, and I think he kind of summarized it well. So it is about how we are arranging our time, organizing our time, scheduling it, and then we have to budget. So we do have to think about, how much time we're going to allot for different things that we have to accomplish. And of course, this brings about prioritizing our work, and which we're going to talk about more. So, what do we prioritize each day? And is this something that we think about when we get up in the mornings, or is it something that we think about the day before, like tomorrow, or do we schedule out? Everybody's got a different approach to that. And I typically lose a lot of sleep over this, because I lay in bed and I can't go to sleep because my mind won't turn off thinking about what tomorrow's going to be and what I have to accomplish tomorrow. So sometimes it's too much in my head and not on paper. And then this one by Cyril is another one that another definition that I think also is a good definition, because our time management skills has a lot to do with other people and how they're going to play into our time management plan, because they certainly do affect how we map out our time and how we use our time. So as Ashley had mentioned, so we all have the same amount of time, and it's something that we cannot change. We cannot slow it down. We can't speed it up. Although sometimes if you're like me, I feel like there's never enough time in a day. And I cannot believe how fast the weeks go by. And I think, is this because I'm getting older? Maybe, I hear my parents say, oh yeah, you just wait till you're, X amount of age, or, you're 50 or you're 60 or whatever. You think it goes by fast now. But the interesting thing is my daughters, who are in their early 20s, and they've talked about how fast time goes by since they were teenagers. And so I just thought that's interesting. So it's not just me getting older. They notice it too, and how fast the weeks go by and the months. And so it's just something that we can't stop, and we have no control over it, and we're all just captive to time. So it is what we do with our time that matters. So we can't beg, borrow, or steal more of it, or it's not anything that we can get more. We're all allotted the same amount. So it does behoove us to figure out how to best use our time and to manage our time. So this is an interesting pie chart I found, and I couldn't find anything specific to graduate students, but I thought this was interesting because there's some of it that's very applicable. This is undergraduate, full-time undergraduate college students, and I just thought it was interesting how this survey, how the students, or the people in this survey, how they divided up their time, or how they accounted for their time. So as you can see, sleeping, and a lot of us don't get 8 hours of sleep. I like to get 8 hours of sleep, but often I do not. I end up working, and then later I work the less, even when I do go to sleep, then I can't sleep because I'm kind of wired. And so then I lose even more sleep. And then, of course, being online, traveling, at least we don't have that. So that's one of the beautiful advantages of going to school online is we don't have to travel somewhere. And then, schoolwork. So that may vary for a lot of us, and, a lot of these other activities as well. But I just thought this was kind of interesting information. So I'll give you a second to look at that. So importance of time management. and this is all grounded in research. So this researcher found that it does boost academic achievement if we practice good time management, and that's and a reason why it is important. It also reduces the procrastination, and I think all of us are guilty of this at some time or another. And I tend to put off things that I really don't. I guess it's just very normal. Put off things I really don't want to do, or I dread something I don't like to do, like clean my refrigerator out. I don't like to do that. And I like it when my mom visits, because she actually likes cleaning out refrigerators, which is kind of odd, but I'm glad she does, because when she's here and visits me, she cleans my refrigerator out, and I love that. But anyway, that's just one personal example, but I have plenty of them. So also it reduces stress, and I can relate to this because, and I'm sure you all can as well, because when I do have a day that I get a lot done, and I've used my time wisely, and I've managed my time, it does reduce my stress, and I do sleep better, and I do enjoy my evening more. And when I've had a week that's been very productive, I have a nicer weekend because I feel more relaxed. So for me, that's a big one in reducing stress. And improved self-esteem. These authors in 2015 in their study found that people who practice good time management had higher self-esteem, and than those who felt they did not practice good time management. And of course, this one would be true. Advances, I mean, all of these are true, but some of them are more true than for us individually than others. This one's a big one for me because I am very, I guess, goal-oriented. So this one's the real important one for me. And I think all of us as faculty or students, I think we're all here because we are goal-driven, and we are seeking to accomplish our academic goals and as well as professional goals. So I feel like this is something we would all share. Also improves creativity. And this, I think, for me, I believe I am more creative if I use good time management, because it frees up my time to actually think creatively, and just allows that time to really reflect on things, and it's just more thinking time, and this is real. I enjoy being creative, but when I don't practice good time management, and I feel like I'm just really busting it to try to get everything done, and I don't have a moment to myself. That's not when I'm the most creative. That's for myself. So I want to move into a self-assessment. So if you have a pen and paper, please do answer yes or no to these questions. And I'm going to leave it up here and allow about maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and so that you can answer these questions. So just like 1, wire in, 2, wire in, and that, and then we're going to add them up, how many yeses and how many nos you have. Does anyone need more time? Is everybody pretty finished? Okay, so no one's saying anything. If you do, can you type in that you need another minute? If not, we'll move on to scoring. Okay, so I think everyone's good. So give yourself a point for every question that you answered with yes, except for number 1, 3, and 7. And then give yourself 1 point for each no answer to questions 1, 3, and 7. And this sounds a little bit confusing, so I'll give you a couple minutes to do this. Okay, so now we're going to find out how you're doing on your time management. So total your points, and a score of 10 or less suggests that you have a need for time management improvement. And if you scored 11 or more, then you're pretty much using your time management strategies effectively. So I hope all of you scored really well on that. I did all right, but again, there's always room for me for improvement. Anybody want to share their score? Oh, someone had 13. Good job. 5. Okay, so you can use more time management strategies. Mine was I think I had a 7. So I can definitely use some strategies.
Samantha, it looks like you had your hand raised. I'm trying to unmute you and it's not letting me. So if you want to talk inside or if you want to add your number into the questions box, we'd be more than happy to discuss it. I can tell you I took the quiz as well, and I got a 9.
So you're doing pretty good though. Oh, we have a 12. Good. That's great. Maybe you guys should be doing this webinar. Oh, we had an 8. Good. What I'm hoping that this just kind of helps you, give you some ideas on where, maybe with the questions, where you're strongest and where you maybe have some challenges. So I'm hoping that was kind of helps you identify those areas where you may need to work on. It did me. So then now let's move on to some effective strategies. Thank you for sharing, you guys. So it's important to identify our distractors, and we all have them. And sometimes, we get interruptions, but this is different. So we're talking about things that we kind of have a tendency to do. For example, we may have, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but maybe we have an inclination to, when we're working on the computer, to open a new browser window and go shopping, or open a new browser window and watch video. So these are some interesting, each one of it, like I said, we all have distractors, and so something that might be a distractor to me may not be a distractor to you. But it's important that we identify those, because then we can begin to manage them, and if we can't eliminate them, at least reduce them. Also, an effective strategy, of course, is to organize yourself. Very logical. And when we're organized, like for example, it's for my husband, it's important that he have his clothes for the next day to go to the office all laid out and ready for him to go. He feels like that helps him start his day being organized because he doesn't have to search around and figure out what he's going to wear. And so he has his clothes, his tie, and all that all coordinated, and he feels more productive when he can start his day out that way. And of course, it's not just about your clothes, but just organizing yourself, maybe keeping a calendar is real important. That's really important for me. And if it doesn't get on my calendar, I forget about it. And I set, and we'll talk about this a little bit more too in a few slides, but just setting reminders for myself. And when I use my phone calendar, and I sync it with my Outlook so that I'm not trying to keep two calendars, but just setting reminders for myself. Maybe I'll set two reminders, one a couple hours ahead and one, 30 minutes ahead, just to kind of keep me on task. So I do have to do those things and keep lists. And so, yeah, but this is also an area where I could do better. So just keeping organized, and then setting goals. This is so important, and we're going to talk more about this too in a few slides. Goal setting, again, it's our roadmap. It's what keeps us on target. And if we don't have goals set, then we also don't. It attributes to our feeling of maybe self-esteem, of feeling productive. So goal setting is so important. And it also helps us when we achieve those goals. It empowers us, it motivates us. So those are just so important. And planning your time ahead of time. And again, this is where I lose sleep. I don't know about all of you, but I lose a lot of sleep planning my time. I drive in my sleep. I plan everything out when I'm trying. I should be sleeping. I'm planning. And I really should try to get this done during the day. And this is, again, one of my areas where I could work on more. And if I'm going to do this, I should allow time in the evening, if that's going to be my best time, which it seems to be, planning out my day for tomorrow. I should go ahead and make my to-do list and prioritize my to-do list, and then maybe I would sleep better. But planning your time is so important because it does get away from us. Again, there's not enough time in the day, at least my day. And then defining your environment. I find for me that if my desk is really messy and I can't find things that I need, and I can't have that space, then it becomes a distractor then for me. And it makes me lose time because because I'm not organized. So all this kind of works together. And so defining your environment is really important, and having that space, that's your space, where you do organize yourself, where you do set goals, where you do plan your time. So it's your own space, and it's important to have it. Involve others. These can be effective strategies. Others can help keep you accountable, and they can help you even remind you of things, and others can and help you with tasks. Maybe there's some tasks that you could involve others in your family to do and take them off of your plate. So kind of the delegation thing. So if you can involve your kids or your spouse or your roommate or whomever, if you can involve others to help you or to do things that maybe that doesn't require you to do, just needs to be done, that can help a lot with your time management and free up some time that you can do more important things. Also, taking control. Again, this is just really important that we feel like we do take control and not feeling out of control. Because when I feel like I'm out of control, then I get stressed, and then it just seems to really negatively affect my time management skills. And then it just feels like I'm I'm out of control, and I'm not managing my time well at all. So taking control is so important. And then finally, reward your achievements. So, if you've reached your goals that week and you've accomplished what you've set out to accomplish, have dinner out. I mean, that rewards can mean is obviously different things to different people, but it may be dinner, it may be going shopping, it may be just spending time with a friend. So, but reward those achievements, because it is important, and it's motivational, and it helps keep us on track. So we have a poll open. So if you guys want to weigh in on that poll about your reward achievements, it's just kind of interesting to see how you guys do that. And For me, it's either dinner out or it's shopping, generally. It's also fun though just to get your mind off things. And I tell my students this is go to a movie, just get away from everything that that's kind of that you've had to do and everything you've been focused on, and just get your mind off of it and go see a movie. So I think that can just be a really good thing to help us relax. So how do you identify your distractors? So first of all, what is your greatest distractor? For some people, it's social media. We've seen statistics that talk about the number of times people get on social media during the day, and I'm always kind of blown away by that. I'm not a big social media person. I just generally don't take the time to do it, like Facebook and those things. But some people, it's just truly a great distraction for them because they do want to get on and see what their friends are doing or family. And so it can just really be a real temptation when they're working on the computer or just the computer's nearby and they want to get on and see what's going on and post. Also, online videos. Watching online videos can be a distraction. My daughter is a senior in college, and she feels like videos are one of her big distractions. That she's got certain shows that she likes to watch, and she watches them on her computer, and so it distracts her from her schoolwork. So I hear her say this quite a bit. Also, texting or just using your phone can be a distractor. And people will text us, and we have that temptation to pick up the phone and respond, or at least see what they said, and then it kind of takes, at least with me, it takes my train of thought away from what I was doing, and then I lose time because then I have to kind of refocus and look back to what I was doing. So for me, texting is one of my distractors. Just having a lack of routine steals our time. It takes away our time because we kind of get into, especially if we're super busy and just kind of not knowing what to do next. And so we have to stop and really think about it. And when I'm not in a routine too, it causes me a lot of stress. The lack of organization and lack of goals, setting goals. Again, this just kind of helps. These are our roadmap, and without the roadmap, I feel kind of lost and like I'm not sure what to do next if I don't map it out, don't plan it out, and I'm not organized to actually carry out what I need to do to reach my goals. And then sometimes we have difficulty prioritizing. Maybe we have 2 or 3 competing goals that we're just not quite sure which one to do first. And I have certainly been there. And so then we just kind of get paralyzed, and it's like, okay, what do I do next, or what should have my attention first? And then there's others. Do any of you, what would you guys say that your greatest distractor is? Maybe it's something other than what's on this list. Anyone want to share that? So we have our poll up. So I think all of 57% of you have voted. So 75%. Is this our poll on? Yeah, on multitasking, attempting to do too many things at once. So then that's another thing, and I think that kind of goes along with difficulty prioritizing sometimes. So we're multitasking and it's competing activities that we're trying to figure out, which one, or we're doing so many that it's hard to focus, where we need to be focused, and then that affects my listening skills. So if I'm spread too thin and trying to do too many things at once, then I don't listen as well as I should, and then I miss something. So then that's not a good thing either. And again, all of this, I would love to know how much time I waste or lose when I get distracted, or I allow myself to get distracted by any of these different things. So we should strive to eliminate, or at least reduce what are our greatest distractors. So that's why it's important to identify them, because awareness then helps us to eliminate or reduce those distractors. So biggest time wasters. This is an interesting study that John Rampton with Inc. did, and he says that he found that constantly checking email is a big time waster, and then not automating your social media accounts. And this was interesting. So we have the average person spends 118 minutes a day on social media, and if you think about it, that's a lot of time. You know, that's that kind of racks up day after day. So that's a lot of time spent, and really, you know, how productive is that? I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have good reasons sometimes for being on social media. There can be an event going on in the family, someone's sick. There can be, you know, different good reasons for being on it. But every day, 118 minutes a day. I mean, that's 2 hours a day, almost 2 hours a day. That's a lot. And then bulky to-do lists. Having too much on your to-do list can be overwhelming. So it's, again, that's where the prioritizing what's most important comes in, and should be, and we should arrange our to-do list based on our priorities. And we mentioned multitasking already, and what that can do. I mean, it's good that we multitask, that we can, but I think we take on too much, and we reach a point where it's just, we become saturated with just overload, and then that's what can paralyze us, and we're not working efficiently, and it's just too much on our minds, and too much to remember. And also being a perfectionist, we overthink things, or we work too hard at trying to make it to be perfect, when you know, there's a point of law of diminishing returns. So the hours we invest in something trying to make it perfect is offset by the time that we've lost in other areas that we need to do. So we give it our best, we do our best on it, and we feel like we've done our best, we move on. So I'm not, you know, I'm all for being the best that we can be, but being too much of a perfectionist is a time stealer. And then unnecessary meetings. We've all been in the unnecessary meetings that we feel, why are we having this meeting exactly? There's some really funny videos. I don't know if you've all seen those. Trip and Tyler, they're on YouTube. If you want a really good laugh, I thought about embedding it in this, and I probably should have, because it's really funny. It's like Any Meeting Everywhere, and they're just so funny because we can all relate to them. And then virtual meetings, and if you get a chance to look up Trip and Tyler on YouTube, you will enjoy those videos, I promise, because they're just really funny. But we've all been in those meetings, and we sit in those meetings thinking about what we could be doing if we weren't sitting in the meeting. So I do, those can be those can be time wasters. And then saying yes to everyone. Do you all have this problem? Do any of the rest of you guys have this problem? Because I do, and I need to learn more often to say a little word called no, and I just can't, and just taking on too much. And you know, I believe in servant leadership, and I believe to be a true leader, you have to be a servant. And but that doesn't mean saying yes to everyone on everything. So I think we do need to be careful, or I do, about saying yes to everyone all the time. And then because that, again, that's a time that steals time from other things that I need to prioritize. And then postponing harder tasks. So we all know this as procrastination. And again, it's so easy to put off things that we don't like to do, things we don't want to do, you know, hard things or difficult conversations. Those things are just so easy to postpone, and but then they cause stress, and they leak over into other areas. They make you lose sleep because it's just the dread of doing it. And for me, I find it often best just to just face things head on. If it's something I don't want to do, just do it, you know, as soon as it comes up. In other words, instead of putting it on the bottom of my priority list, put it where it really needs to be, and just, you know, suck it up and do what I need to do. So organizing yourself is so important. So clean, purge, and organize your desk or work area. This goes back to having your own space and feeling comfortable in your own space, and, you know, make it a space that you enjoy being in. And for me, I don't like a lot of clutter, but I do like a picture of my kids because they're my motivators. And just having things on my desk that I, you know, again, not too cluttered, but just things I enjoy. But also just keeping it clean. It's so nice to have a clean desk. It's like, to me, I hate getting up in the morning if I've left dirty dishes in the sink and I come to the kitchen and my kitchen's a big mess. I hate that. And because it just, trying to fix breakfast or make coffee or something around that, it just feels so much better when I come in and it's clean. And it's always best if I've cleaned it up the night before, no matter how late it is. It's just, I'm always glad in the morning when I do that. And it helps me to feel organized. And again, that goes to just feeling better and having better self-esteem, and more motivational about time management. And I just, it's just keeping yourself, and it also does help to keep you organized. So if it's clean, then you're more apt to keep it organized. And then create a file for your classes. If it's not a physical file, just a file on your computer where you stay organized. I know it's so easy for a computer to become cluttered. My documents, scattered around, and then I need to find something and I can't find it. But I've found that if I keep file folders in my documents and keep things where they go, it's so much easier to find what I need. And if you are keeping physical files, using colored files for quick location can be real helpful, just color coding. And then making a to-do list, which has been mentioned several times, is important, and then prioritizing your daily tasks. So again, it keeps us from having that feeling we wake up in the morning of just kind of being paralyzed and not knowing what to do first. So if we keep that to-do list, it's real helpful. And I personally find it motivational if I can check off things that I'm doing as I go. So it's like, aha, I get to check that off and draw a line through that. That's accomplished. And that motivates me to do the next one and the next one. And so I like checking things off my list. And I do that. I do use a to-do list every day. And I mentioned this before, but use only one calendar and sync it with you. If it's on your phone, if it's your Outlook calendar, sync it with your phone so you're not trying to keep. I have in the past had more than one calendar, and that's just so frustrating because I always miss something, and I'll put it on one and not the other, and then I become disorganized, and it's just, that wasn't a good plan. So now I do sync my phone with my Outlook calendar, and then set those reminders, and I check my calendar every day, and it really helps keep me on task. So I find that's one of my biggest, I guess, time management tips, and I'm sure it is, a lot of you probably do the same, and keep your calendar. And again, the reminders on your phone. I don't know how many of you have iPhones, but I make good use of Siri. So if I'm driving somewhere and I need a reminder, then I just ask Siri, remind me to call Michael tomorrow at 9 a.m. So, and Siri will very politely say, okay, I'll remind you. And I love that. And plus I get to tell somebody else what to do for a change, and I feel like I have an assistant. And so put that in my notes or on my calendar. So that's just, I find that real helpful. And do any of you use Siri? Just curious, for reminding you or putting things on your calendar?
While people are answering that, I do have a question for you, Dr. Rawlings, and it is, should you do easy tasks or harder tasks first?
Well, I think, I've heard some people say that you should do the easy tasks first, but for me, it's what's most important. And sometimes that's an easy thing, and sometimes the most important is a harder task. So for me, it's not what's easy or hard. For me, it's what's the most important. Like, for example, responding to a student. A student has a question about an assignment that he or she is working on, and it may be Saturday, and I know that that's the only time they can work is on the weekend because they work at a job full-time all week. And so I feel like that's real priority because they need an answer before they can continue with the assignment. So I guess for me, it's what's most important. Then if you break it down from there, then for me, I need to face my hardest head on. Then I feel like I've got that out of the way for the day, and that's I've taken care of that.
And then we've had several people respond that yes, they use Siri or their Google Calendar to help them stay organized.
Yep. So that's great. Yep. Siri's good. I enjoy using Siri, and that's I have found that really works well for me, and I'm glad it does for you guys as well. So moving on. So goal setting. So it's important to set SMART goals, and I'm sure you all have seen this. So SMART standing for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and then time specific. You know, I don't know how often you think of your goals in terms of SMART goals in this acronym, but you know, they should be specific and measurable. When they're not specific, then I don't know if it's like, well, did I really meet my goal? And I again like to check it off my list. So the specific, it is important that it's specific. It also helps me know exactly what I need to do. And then are they measurable? It's really frustrating if I set a goal and it's not measurable, and then again I don't know, did I really reach the goal or not? And that's, you know, if it's measurable and I've achieved it, it's motivational, and so that's always a good thing. And is it achievable? So it's important to be realistic. So it should be achievable, something that I have the power to do, or you know, it doesn't. I mean, obviously, I may need someone else to help me at time, or other people, a team, to help me achieve the goal. But it's important that it is achievable and not something just so unrealistic that it's just I'm not going to be able to do it, because then it's very demotivational if I can't achieve that goal. And often those two kind of, to me, go together. And then the time specified. So it's important that I'm also realistic about the time frame that I'm going to achieve this goal, whether it's a daily goal, weekly goal, you know, monthly goal, or 5-year goal. So just it's important to be specific, so that if I do reach it and I reach it ahead of time, wow, that's great. That's really motivational if I've achieved it before the time frame I have set for it. And so that's just, you know, all the better that I can do that. So planning your time is so important, but you do need to allow flexibility. So when you create and you follow your weekly and daily schedule, I think it's easy to become, maybe this is kind of where being a perfectionist may play in for some people, is not allowing flexibility. So, you know, we don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't know what the day's going to throw at us when we get up that morning. And it's important that we are able to adapt. It's kind of like the situational leadership. We have to, you know, we don't know what situation we're going to be in, and it's good to be adaptable. While of course keeping in mind what our priorities are, but just practicing situational, I guess, time management, if you will, is important. And then making that to-do list with flexibility too, and keeping it concise, and not allowing yourself to not overloading yourself and feeling overwhelmed, which, you know, we all do at times, and that's just such a frustrating feeling and just stressful feeling, and that's a sleep stealer, and it's a peace stealer, and not a good thing. So, but careful planning can help you in a lot of ways. So it can help you reduce the wasted time and to avoid those distractions that we looked at and talked about, and also develop good discipline, which is so important with time management in our lives. It's just good to practice discipline, and that's where we reduce or really minimize those distractors, whether it's social media or shopping, like I have a tendency to do, but just practicing good self-discipline. And sometimes I tell myself, okay, finish out this task, and then I can allow myself then to browse for 10 minutes online. But I have to finish this task first, or I'm not allowed to do that. So it's just practicing discipline and disciplining ourselves. And then also reinforcing good habits and having those celebrations or rewarding ourselves reinforces our good habits. And then also careful planning helps to eliminate our bad habits. So we just don't allow whatever we've planned out for the day. We just don't allow time ourselves to become distracted and waste our time. This all still goes, stress for me and time management kind of go together. Good time management equals less stress. And that's just real big for me. I tend to take a lot on my shoulders, and I tend to get stressed out real easy, and then I'm not fun to be around. I feel bad for my family, because I know that when I get stressed, then it just gets kind of tense. And when mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy. And then it also helps you just reach your goals. So when you set those smart goals and then you plan carefully, you can reach those goals. And we talked a little bit about this, about defining your environment and the importance of that, but create a specific place, whether, for studying, for work, whatever, where you're going to have minimal distractions. When I was going through my doctoral program and when it came time to write my dissertation, I had such a feeling of being overwhelmed. And I thought, I cannot do this. It's like have a meltdown. I cannot do this. I got my first 3 chapters finished. And I can remember this so well, thinking, I can't do it. I can't finish. I can't. And it was in October, and then they set my defense date in February. And then that just made it even more bad, even worse, because I thought, I can't do this. And then I had a talk with myself, and it's like, just get a grip. So what I did was, we have a 2-level house, and the main level is where the bedrooms are and the kitchen and the living room. And then downstairs we had a guest room. And so I decided I need to get away from everybody and have my own space where I'm not going to be interrupted. So I went down in the guest room and I set up a desk, just a folding table facing the wall. And I banished myself there every evening. And I would go in there and I would shut the door, and I told my family, please do not disturb me, because I have to stay focused. And so I did it, and you can do it, those of you who are students who are listening. It's just create that specific place. And for me, that was something that really impacted my ability to stay focused and to complete my last 2 chapters. Silence or move your phone to another room if that's something that distracts you. If people text you a lot, or if you get a lot of phone calls and you're really trying to stay focused on the task, what you're doing, just silence your phone or move it to another room so you're not tempted. It's kind of like I tell my girls, put your phone in the back seat if you're going to be tempted when you're driving. If you're going to be tempted to look at it, if you get a phone call or a text, put it in the back seat where you can't reach it, so you're not texting and driving. Practice deep breathing to help you relax. And sometimes I just get up and stretch, and that can kind of help you refocus, kind of helps you just physically feel better. So I think that's important. And something else I use is an exercise ball, and I just sit on it. It helps my core, the core of my body, just to kind of strengthens my core and helps my back. If you're sitting a lot, that's just really important. So I use that a lot as my desk chair, is the big exercise ball. Keep a notebook handy, just for jotting down notes when things come to you. This is an area where I can practice better better time management here, because I'll tend to grab a Post-it note or some other little piece of paper, and I write something down, and then what happens? I lose it, or I can't find it. And would be much better for me to keep a notebook where I write things, and then at least even if I have to flip back through it, at least I'll know it's in that notebook, and it's just a matter of finding it. And I know people that keep notebooks by their bedside in case they wake up during the night with some wonderfully insightful thought or idea or some creative idea, and they'll keep the notebook to write it down. Take short breaks when your mind wanders. Sometimes it's just better to get up and take a break than if you have writer's block, or you just can't think through something, or if you're like me, sometimes I read something and I reread it and I think I still don't know what it said. What did that say? So sometimes it's just better to get up and go outside, or just take a break, go get something to drink, just get away from it and come back and try to refocus. So involve others. So it's important to delegate whenever you can. Again, if it's small tasks, if you have children that can take on small tasks, it helps teach them responsibility, but plus it helps free up some time for you. So delegate whenever you can. And enlist help from family and friends. And they can also help keep you accountable. So that's really important. I know that most people are perfectly happy to try to keep me accountable, at least, or remind me of things. They take great joy in it if I've forgotten it, especially my brother. So make use of wasted time. If you're sitting in the doctor's office, use that time to read or answer emails or do something that's productive, because sometimes you can be sitting in a waiting room for so long. So use that time wisely. Write your to-do list for tomorrow. Prioritize what you're going to do for tomorrow. But make use of that time and take control. Get into a routine. If you map your day out, plan your day out, and just kind of, there's some things that that can help you get into a routine. Like I get up and I want coffee in the morning because I need the caffeine. It helps me wake up, and it's just, I look forward to that every morning, getting up and having a cup of coffee. And then I try every morning, and I do pretty good at this, but I take time to just kind of like me time, and it's not very long, about 15 minutes, but just kind of to get my thoughts together. And maybe I'll read, a devotional, or I will just spend time kind of reflectively thinking about, what's going on in my life, or others, or friends and family. So that helps me, and I do that every morning. So it's just kind of something I look forward to each day. Again, but that's my routine. So coffee in my quiet time. And I think that goes toward practicing self-discipline as well, just getting yourself into a routine. And, we're all creatures of habit. I think we like routines, most of us, although I know we can get bored with them. But I think that we do like some kind of semblance of a routine. And then, again, strive to limit distractions. If you've identified them, that's the beginning to limiting them or eliminating them altogether. And then do exercise. And Ashley and I were talking about the weather and what a terrible winter this has been for us. And we're so ready to get outside and the weather to turn nice so we can get out and take walks and just be in the sunshine. And that helps me a lot. And that's just getting out and walking. And eating healthy is another. I don't necessarily think of eating healthy going along with time management, but again, it's how we feel. It's so much of how we feel. And when we're exercising and eating healthy and getting enough sleep, it makes us feel better, and it makes us feel in control and helps us take control of our time. And this National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours per day, and that's just. And I hope that all of you can get that amount of sleep, because it just helps make a healthier you, healthier me. Again, we talked about setting weekly and daily goals, and then prioritizing those goals, and say no to overextending yourself. I'm going to bet that a lot of you, if not all of you, have trouble at this at some point of saying no, because I think most of us do. We take on more than we really should, and we want to be helpful, and it's just so easy to take on more than we should, especially when you're in school or you've got and working full time, and you just got so much on your plate already. So I'm not saying not to help people. I sure don't. Please don't walk away and think that I said that, because for me, as some helping others is one of the greatest joys of life. But don't take on too much. Just be cognizant of that, and then change your perspective. Time is our most precious resource. So it's just, and it can never be the time lost can never be recouped. I mean, it's gone. And unlike money, we've already talked about this a little bit. It cannot be spent, re-earned, and replaced. We all have the same amount of time. It can't be rented, purchased, or borrowed. So there's about 1,440 minutes in a day. And so what are you doing with your minutes? So it's kind of eye-opening when we think of it in the terms of minutes. It just doesn't seem like that much to me, and it seems like the days just go by so fast. Again, reward achievements, so important. Plan a reward for yourself, something to look forward to, and it does help you stay on schedule if you kind of plan to reward yourself. And here's some reward ideas, and I'm sure you all have your own, but this just some ideas, just some thoughts. We all enjoy, I think most of us probably enjoy all of these. So we are winding down. Does anyone, before I say that, let me just real quick go over these productivity tools to help you stay focused. So these are just some apps that you can download that are real popular to help you stay focused. And then here's a list of the top 15 time management apps. And I thought these were really interesting too, to help you stay focused. And finally, Amazon Echo or Google Home. I don't know if you guys use these. I have an Alexa, and I know she came on just because I said that, but I use her a lot to help me keep my shopping lists. So if I'm cooking in the kitchen and I'm out of something, I ask her to add whatever it is to my shopping list, and then when I get to the store, I can pull up my app, my Alexa app, and I can see my list. So that helps save me time because I don't have to write it down. I use her to help me, to remind me of things to do, whether it be tomorrow or a certain date. I use her for that too. And then also just quick answers to questions. So I don't know if any of you guys use the Alexa or Google Home or any of these to help you with your time management, but they are certainly tools that to me are very helpful. So closing thoughts. So effective time management comes down to really motivation, focus, and commitment. So, you know, we can all do it. It's just, we just have to be motivated to do it, and then we have to get our focus and on doing it, and then actually commit to doing it. So I would love to take a couple of minutes, and if you would like to share your best time management tip, we learn from each other, and I certainly learn from my students and colleagues. So if you would like to share your tip that helps you manage your time well, I would love for you to do that.
It looks like Samantha loves to use Google Calendar on her iPad.
Cool.
I know for me personally, there is a website that's called To-Do List, and I like to put all of my things in there, and I categorize them by must do, can do, and would like to do. And so that way I focus on the must do's first and then kind of trickle down into the others.
Oh, that's a great way to keep track and categorize them. Great idea. I should look at that too. I really appreciate all of you coming, and again, we still have a couple minutes, right, Ashley? So if you do have anything, please do share.
And while we're waiting for people to add questions or comments to what they like to do to stay organized, I do want to remind you guys that this webinar will be posted on the Commons in the Center for Teaching and Learning, and it should be posted by the end of the day today. So if you need to look back, I know there was something on the last slide that Dr. Rawlings had, like the top 15 softwares to use and things like that. I've already sent that link over to my team so that we could kind of investigate those to see if they work better for us. It looks like somebody else uses Google Calendar for organizing as well.
Great.
So,
Great.
If you want to refer back to anything that Dr. Rawlings has talked about today, feel free to look in the Center for Teaching and Learning. So Dr. Rawlings, do you have anything else before we get to closing?
No, I just wanted to say thanks to all of you. This was great. This is when I loved webinars and that we can do this, but I do miss the face-to-face too, where we could just all see each other and have kind of a roundtable discussion. But this is a second best. So I appreciate it very much, you guys, for coming.
And we thank you so much for your dedication to this. I know we had to reschedule at one point, and I appreciate your flexibility, especially from the Center for Teaching and Learning. So thank you. For those who are still on the phone, I do want to remind you that there are several other webinars that have been posted through the month of April. So You should be receiving an email within the next few days on those. And so keep a lookout and see if there's any topics that interest you. As well as if you ever have any topics that you would like us to host, feel free to send an email to the Center for Teaching and Learning, which is ctl@ncu.edu. And we'd be happy to see if we can get a guest presenter and host that as well. So thank you, everybody, for coming today. We really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.